So good evening, everybody. So today's resource person, Dr. Jayashree madam. I welcome to Jayashree madam. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಒಂದು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಜಯಶ್ರೀ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರು ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರೀಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಎಂಬ ವಿಷಯದ ಮೇಲೆ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ನೀಡಲಿದ್ದು ಅವರನ್ನು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾದಂತಹ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಅಯ್ಯಪ್ಪನ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಯ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಣಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಾದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಮೇಶ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ನನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ನೀಡುತ್ತಾ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಕಳೆದ ಸಾಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತರಗತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಜಯಶ್ರೀ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸುದೀರ್ಘವಾಗಿ ಅವರ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಆದರೂ ಅವರ 28 ವರ್ಷದ ಸುದೀರ್ಘ ಒಂದು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಪರಿಚಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರೀಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಎಂಬ ವಿಷಯದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಲವಾರು ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ತಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡಲಿದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಓವರ್ ಟು ಯು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Welcome for the webinar on human reproduction regarding the science talent research program organized by KSTA as well as KSTPS. To start with, what is reproduction? As you all know, reproduction is one of the basic concepts for a life cycle. This consists of human reproduction chapter consists of introduction, definition, different types, then process, then details about the process of reproduction. Makla idu chapter 3rd al barutte, human reproduction. Idu ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ lengthy chapter. You have to learn about the hormones involved in this and the concepts involved in this. It's very, very important for your NEET exam, CET as well as JEE. Yeah. Introduction. What is this reproduction? It's one of the fundamental characteristics of living things and an essential life process. There are two types of reproduction, asexual and sexual. Asexual, where it involves only one parent and new offspring produced genetically similar to the parents, whereas sexually, it's a process of reproduction very complex and involves the formation and transfer of gametes followed by fertilization, zygote formation, and embryogenesis. So, human reproduction is a sexual reproduction. Before going to that, let me give a brief account of this viviparous, oviparous, and oviviparous animals. Again, this is very, very essential for your CET exam as well as NEET and JEE. Optionally, idna kele keltare. Idu first PUC li irutte nimge animal alli. Viviparous animals andre which gives birth to live young ones. Example, human. So, human reproduction is an example for viviparous animals, whereas oviparous animals, egg-laying animals. Here it involves all the poultry as well as reptile, that is snake. Oviviparous animals have eggs that develops inside the mother's body, but the eggs are not fertilized by the father. Okay, coming to the definition. What is the definition of human reproduction? It can be defined as the biological process of producing a new individual or an offspring identical to the parents. Here, under the favorable conditions andre ಒಂದು ವಾತಾವರಣ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದಾಗ it multiplies into number of individuals of a species. So, reproduction in human being is viviparous. Keep that in mind. Again, this is very, very important for CET. Okay, now there are two different systems in human reproductive system, that is male reproductive system and female reproductive system. A male reproductive system consists of, here I have compared here. Again, please concentrate on this diagram. Diagram ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಲೇಬಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಲೇಬಲ್ಸ್ನೆಲ್ಲ, ಆರ್ಗನ್ಸ್, ಅದ್ರ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನೆಲ್ಲ. ಇದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮೆಮೊರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ CET-ಲಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ನಾನು ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ಅದನ್ನ, ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ದ ಫಾಲೋಯಿಂಗ್ ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ನಾವು ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. The male reproductive system consists of a pair testis, accessory duct, very very important in the examination point of view, accessory glands. Again, for theory exam I'm talking about accessory gland, it is important for theory exam. Okay, now external genitalia, penis. Same way, see, compare here. Female reproductive system consists of 3 parts, whereas male consists of 4 parts. Paired ovaries, accessory ducts, and external genitalia. Under accessory ducts, oviducts, it's also known as fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, whereas genitalia consists of mons pubis, vestibules, hymen, and clitoris. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. Each one I'm explaining here. So, male consists of 4 different parts: paired testis, and accessory ducts, accessory glands, and external genitalia. Here, the male reproductive system is situated in the pelvic region, made up of internal and external sex organ, which comprises a pair of testes. So, testis is an external organ, whereas accessory gland and external accessory gland and accessory ducts are the internal organs. Again, genitalia, that is external genitalia, again is an external organ. So, here a pouch-like structure known as scrotum encloses the testis located outside the abdominal cavity, wherein in the scrotum all these accessory glands are present. Yeah, coming to the male reproductive system structure, yeah, I will just pass on to this. So, here, one by one, when we talk about, look at the diagram of accessory duct. As such, it has got 3 important parts, that is reta, testis, vas efferensis, vas deferensis, and seminiferous tubules. So, there are series of tubules present here, and this encloses with an epididymis known as head. Can you just visualize that seminiferous tubules? Each are coil-like structure, wherein these are the structure. On the right hand side, whatever you see, the enlarged one, seminiferal tubules. That is on the left hand side, whatever you see, this is the seminiferal tubules, and on the right hand side, this is exactly where the spermatogenesis takes place. I will explain this in the next slide. Okay, now coming to this, this is the explanation part. And this is the female reproductive part. As I told you, it has got a paired ovaries, accessory duct, and external genitalia. Where this is located? Even this is located in the pelvic region, made up of internal and external sex organ. It consists of a pair of ovaries. This is the ovary. Then oviduct, then cervix, then cervical canal, vagina, and external genitalia. This is the external genitalia. Also, a mammary gland or the breast, which is located in the thoracic region, that is the breast, which are also important both structurally and functionally. So, here in female reproductive organ, all this combines to support the complete process of reproduction, including ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, and birth of a child. Okay, now this is the mammary gland. Here, a pair of mammary glands contains glandular tissues and the fat, you can see here. And as such, each of these glandular tissues has 15 to 20 lobules. You can see these lobules, then which are stored in the lumen of the alveoli. This each sac-like structure, small sac-like structure, whatever you see, these are the alveoli. So, this alveoli opens into the mammary tubules, which joins to form the mammary duct. These join to form the wider mammary amphillae. So, this is the amphillae, which is connected to lactiferous duct, through which the milk is sucked. So, this is the lactification. So, that is lactiferous duct. So, how is this milk conduction takes place? The mammary alveoli, it is, the milk is secreted here through the blood cells. It passes here from the veins and it passes to the tubules, finally to the ducts and ampullae, and finally comes out through the nipple when the baby sucks. Okay, now coming back to the major concept of how these gametes are formed. This is very, very essential for your 5-mark, 3-mark questions. They may ask a direct question or they may ask an indirect question. Direct question, as such gametogenesis they may ask, or indirectly like separate questions, comment on spermatogenesis or oogenesis. So now coming to this spermatogenesis. Look at the diagram here. As such, it undergoes both mitotic and meiotic division. So, this spermatogenesis, when does it start? It starts at puberty and finally with the help of an hormone called gonadotropin releasing hormone. Which hormone? Gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. Where is this hypothalamus present? It is present inside the brain along with the pituitary glands. So this gonadotropin releasing hormone, it secretes two different hormones that is known as luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. What are these hormones? These are produced from the endocrine glands. So now further, this luteinizing hormone stimulates with the Leydig cells. Is it visible, Leydig cells? Look at the diagram there, Leydig cells. So from the here, I'll get back to the slide. Present here Leydig cells. Back. So this Leydig cells, they secrete the androgens. Androgens are the one which helps in the stimulation of the hormones, male sex hormones. So it secretes two different male sex hormones known as testosterone and androstenedione. So these hormones stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. So which stimulates the process of spermatogenesis? The androgens stimulates the process of spermatogenesis, that is formation of the sperm. So now, meantime, the other hormone, that is follicle stimulating hormone, along with the satellite cells, secretes the factors which helps the process of spermiogenesis. So normally, how many chromosomes present in the human body? 46. In male, it is 44 plus XY, and in female, it is 44 plus XX. So now the spermogonia, which are diploid, that is 46 number, they divide mitotically. So here, the first mitotic division takes place inside the cell. So after the mitotic division, it undergoes the primary spermatocyte division, resulting in meiotic 1, which is completed, resulting in secondary spermatocytes. So now, it once again undergoes meiosis 2. Keep it in mind. Cell division normally, meiotic division result in 4 cells. So here 4 different sperms are formed. The sperms are the gametes. So where does all this process takes place? It takes place in the lumen of the seminiferous tubules. As I told you, showed you this diagram. This is the seminiferous tubules. Here the process takes place. You can see here. These are the serratized cells. From there, the primary spermatocytes are formed. Then meiosis 1, meiosis 2 results in the formation of spermatid. So each of the spermatid, they get formation into a spermatozoans or the sperms by meiotic 2 division. Okay, now coming back to this oogenesis. Before going to that, let me talk about spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis is a process for the formation of spermatids. So the formation of sperm process is known as spermiogenesis. Then spermiation. What is meant by spermiation? That is, this is a process by which the sperms are released from the seminiferous tubules. When they release, it is known as spermiation. So now let me go ahead here. A little bit about the structure of a sperm. The structure of a sperm, it consists of 3 parts: head, middle piece, and the tail. The head, it is enclosed by a plasma membrane. It has a tip called acrosome, which secretes the enzyme, and it is useful during the copulation or during fertilization. And it has got lots of nucleus. Below it is present the middle piece, which is rich in mitochondria. What is the main function of mitochondria? Production of ATP, that is energy. So it helps in the momentary movement of it, provides the energy for the developing head. And as such, it has got a tail, which has got a motility. This can be also called as flagellum. Okay, let me view the structure. That is spermatogenesis. This is a diagram, schematic representation, which is very, very essential for your examination point of view. This is only for your understanding, but this is for your examination point of view. So, schematic representation is very, very important for your 5-mark question. Yeah, let me explain this oogenesis. First, schematic, then I'll get back to the diagram. As such, primordial germ cells, they are 44 plus XX, which undergoes a division to resulting in, this is also known as oogonium, which enlarges and divides into 2 cells, that is primary oocyte. And finally, here first meiotic division takes place, resulting in 2 different cells, first polar body and the secondary oocyte. So this oocyte, it once again undergoes meiotic 2, resulting in a larger egg nucleus, egged nucleus known as ovum or a mature oocyte, and the remaining 3 are known as polar body. So they help in the growth of this ovum. You can see the differences on the right side. So spermatogenesis, it occurs in the testes, whereas oogenesis occurs in the ovary. As such, spermatogenesis, it has a limited growth phase, but oogenesis, it needs larger time. Here, each primary spermatocyte gives to 4 sperms. There it gives 1 large ovum and the remaining polar bodies. So as such, no polar bodies are formed in the spermatogenesis. And as such, spermatogenesis begins of the puberty, that is when they mature, when the child reaches at the age of around 12 to 14 or 12 to 15. Nowadays, because of the climatic changes, environmental changes, as well as food habits, children have been reaching their puberty or maturity at the age of 10 also. As such, in oogenesis, it begins of embryonic stage but suspects up to puberty. It ceases around at the age of 50. So this egg oogenesis process is continuous. Okay, now next one is development of ovarian follicle. I've already talked about this, how the sperms are formed. Here, oogenesis, like through the process of oogenesis, I'm explaining here about the cross section of this ovarian follicle. So as such, you can compare this diagram. Here, whatever I'm showing here, the same thing is in the enlarged view. Yeah, you can see here. So inside the, I'll get back to the one more diagram. Here I made a comparative account so that when you go through the slides, it will be very easy for you to learn. So here are the ovaries. Inside this ovary is the ovarian follicle, and the process of this oogenesis takes place here in this ovary. Okay, now there are different forms of ovarian follicle forming, known as primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle, and Graafian follicle. The last stage, Graafian follicle, is very, very important again in the examination point of view. Coming to the structure of the ovary, look at the ovary as well as the development of the ovarian follicle. Here, as such, inside the ovary itself, I'll get back to the diagram. This is the ovary, that is whatever you saw here. This is the ovary. So once it is formed, it releases through this prim and finally passes. You can see this diagram also. I made a comparative account. So here you can see the primary follicle. Here is the primary follicle. Then is the growing follicle or secondary follicle. Then comes the tertiary. Then comes the Graafian follicle. Once the Graafian follicle is formed, then depending on if the fertilization happens, then it reaches through here, passing through the fimbriae, passing through this passage, that is fallopian tubules. These are called the fallopian tubules. And finally, it undergoes a process in the later stage. I'll explain it in detail. So it passes here and gets embedded here. If fertilization takes place, it will not be released. The egg will not be released. If it is not fertilized, then it gets released, known as periods or menstrual cycle. Okay, now coming back one by one, look at this diagram. I'll go in detail. Okay, look at here. The primary follicle, they have two different cells known as granulosa cell at the border, whatever you see, and the primary oocyte. So here in the primary oocyte, it is embedded with lots of nucleus and cytoplasm. So if my nucleus is there, cytoplasm is there, obviously there is a cell division. So here, next stage in the secondary follicle, what happens? More number of granulosa cells. It is the granulosa cells here. You can see nth number. Here only one single layer is there. Here around 2 to 3 layers are formed. And as well as there is a outer cells known as theca or epidermis surrounding the primary oocytes. So further stage, it is known as tertiary follicle. Here, further complicated structures takes place here, resulting in the formation of the mature follicle or Graafian follicle. But here, it is embedded with numerous cavity. That is a fluid-filled cavity known as antrum. What is the use of this antrum? It provides energy for the growing outer ring cells, outer zones. So now look at the diagram of fully matured Graafian cell. As such, granulosa is there, theca interna is there, theca externa is there. Theca interna means the internal epidermis or epilayer is there. Outside formation, we call it as externa, theca externa. Then you can see here a laminae, that is known as basal laminae, that is the antrium filled. This cavity, pink color, is the antrium filled with follicular fluid. So this helps in the formation of follicular cells. That is the follicle, Graafian follicle. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. Now coming to the menstrual cycle. So now by this time you have learned about the structure of reproductive system, male reproductive system, female reproductive system, their parts. Now coming to the menstrual cycle or the reproductive cycle. As previously told, when compared to the spermatogenesis or oogenesis, spermatogenesis is a smaller process, the phage, whereas oogenesis, it takes around 18 to 20 days for an egg to get matured and ruptured. So now coming here, the event of menstrual cycle takes place in two different phases known as ovarian cycle and uterine cycle. That is whatever we call period or menses. That takes place around, that is the bleeding of the waste bloods coming out from the vagina through the cervix. It takes place around 5 days. See here, I made a comparative account. ಇಲ್ಲಿ comparative account ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ menstrual cycle ಅಥವಾ reproduction cycle ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. This is the structure of the female reproductive structure. Look at the diagram here. The ovary with the fimbrate is attached here, the first egg. Now, as the days goes on, see this last stage, this is the bleeding stage. So this will be recycled back to the normal one. So now here, the egg, this is inside the ovary. So now here, as and when there is the formation of the egg cells here, I made a comparative account here. You can see here, a small primary oocyte, then the secondary oocyte, growing follicle. As and when they are growing, you can see here a thickness of this endometrium. This endometrium, as and when this the follicle starts maturation, it goes on depositing the muscle cells here, and this is called thick endometrium. So finally, if the egg gets ruptured, along with the blood, it bleeds out. That we call it as menses. So there is from the duration of 5 to 13 days or 5 to 15 days around, 5 to 15, sometimes 5 to 18. It varies on the food habits of a woman or a girl or the climatic changes and also mental pressure. Here, keep it in mind, whether male or a female, the pituitary gland plays its main role for the release of the hormones. So that is very, very important during this menstrual cycle or a reproductive cycle. So here, new endothelium is there. It goes on thickening, and when it gets ruptured, the egg is released out. And this is the diagrammatic representation of oogenesis. Once again, this is repeated. Overall, the menstrual cycle also changes based on the hormones, that is FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, or luteinizing hormone. When the larval arises, see there is a change in the pituitary hormone. So it arises or decreases. And so as this period, it varies sometimes in some of the women. Sometimes it is regular, or sometimes, as I told you, it may be a food habit, or maybe a mental stress, or maybe climatic changes, any of the environmental issues also, which affects on our body system. So as such, here you can see changes in ovarian events. That's what this is, ovarian events, and changes in the ovarian hormones, as well as FSH and LH not only plays its alone role, even the estrogen and progesterone also plays their own role. As such, even here, the uterine wall, that is the endometrium, also changes its role during this course of oogenesis, or the formation of Graafian follicle. So in the newly formed, in the normal one, it is thin. It goes on forming, new endometrium is formed. Finally, it becomes thick. When the egg ruptures passes out from the fallopian tubules, it comes collecting out along with the blood, waste blood, passing out to the cervix and vagina. I'll move on to the next slide. As such, there are three phases in menstrual phase. That is menstrual phase, menstrual cycle, menstrual phase, follicular phase, then luteal phase. Again, this is very, very important for your 3-mark question, sometimes 2-mark, 3-mark question, and 5-mark question. Comment on menstrual cycle. You need not draw the diagrams. You have got to just explain it. Explain. There are 3 different phases. Menstrual phase, wherein the ovum fails to get fertilized, what we call pregnancy. Gets to, that is, fails to get fertilized. They are not pregnant. So the menstrual flow is there. That is bleeding, what we call bleeding. No fertilization, bleeding will take place. Fertilization, no bleeding will take place. Next one is called follicular phase. This we also call it as proliferative phase. What I showed you in the previous diagram. This diagram, this is the formation of Graafian follicle, is the follicular stage or fallopian stage. Next one is luteal phase. We call it as corpus luteum formation phase or a secretory phase. That is, it secretes an hormone progesterone which maintains the thickness of this endometrium. So this is the corpus luteum which maintains the thickness of endometrium by secreting a hormone called progesterone. See, all these hormones are very, very important for your human reproductive system. So now, this corpus luteum, they will degenerate in absence of fertilization, and finally, they come out as an waste blood. Now, before these are the different stages of menstrual cycle. There are some terms called menarche and menopause. That is, when a girl gets mature, we call mature adlo atarella heltiyalva, adana menarche anta karitare. Again, this is important for CET as well as your any of the MCQ questions. So your normally a menstrual cycle takes place in a duration of 1 month or 28 to 29 days, exclusively 5 days. So lack of menstrual cycle is an indicator of pregnancy. Not only pregnancy, if they have a poor health, blood ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸ್ ಇರಬಹುದು, ಅವಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದು ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಆಗಿ 28 ಡೇಸ್ಗೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. There will be a lot of problem. As I told you, it may be a food habit or mental stress or maybe any of the climatic changes. That is, climatic changes means environmental changes. It may be any cause, not only food. It may be any cause, especially which acts on the hormones which is present in the hypothalamus, that is towards the pituitary gland in the brain. Menopause. So this is the age a woman can release egg at an age of, once he gets menarche, and in between menarche and menopause, between the age of 45, that is around 12 or 10 to 45, she can become a pregnant if fertilization takes place. Otherwise, no. After 50s, it is not possible. But new technology has introduced this IVF and all those things. The technology is so high that at the age of 60, provided if the woman is ill and healthy, she can bear a child, but it will be cesarean. As such, normal delivery, she cannot do it. Okay, this is the fertilization and implantation. How does it take place? You can view here. So, the sperm which is released from the penis, it enters into this vagina, passing through the cervix, passes here, and along with the egg, look at here, along with the ovary, the ovum also, it finally gets here. Here, egg is released, sperm is released. Finally, can just view this diagram. Here also I viewed, here also I viewed. So here the sperm enters the vagina, passes through the cervical canal, enters the, this is the uterus part, the channel, and finally it reaches the isthmus. And meantime, ovum through the fibrate, this finger-like thing, or what we call villi-like thing, fimbrate. It passes here, passes through the infundibulum, and finally reaches the fallopian tubules, amphibillae, and there it gets the sperm and the egg, they get fertilized. The fertilization takes place here. So once the fertilization takes place here, both the nucleus of the sperm, the nucleus of the egg, they collage each other, exchange the nucleus content, and here the cytoplasm, they help in as a supportive tissue providing the nourishment. Finally, here the cell division takes place and it results in a zygote. So this undergoes frequent division, resulting mitotic division, resulting in 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage, 8-cell stage, double the thing. And so finally, it leads into after the 8-cell stage, a mass of cell, it results in a structure called morula. This morula undergoes division so as to form the blastocyte, and finally it forms an blastocyte which is ready for still more larger cells known as implanted blastocyte. This implanted blastocytes, once it is completed, it finally gets, see here it is viewed here, it gets attached to the wall, uterus wall. Once it is attached, it is ready for the formation of an embryo, that is formation of a baby. Okay, next slide. So here again I have given here, morula is a stage where 8 to 16 blastomeres in the embryo are formed. This is the stage. Okay, this is the explanation. Okay, now you can again have a view of this, how this pregnancy is formed and what are the changes happens during pregnancy and how this embryo is formed. Again, this is very, very important and very, very complicated. Here, once the blastocyst gets implicated in the uterus wall, here inside the uterus wall, it starts its growth, that is the journey of the growth of a fetus starts. Fetus is a small young baby which is present inside the uterus or a mother's womb. And how does it is feeded with? It is feeded with a umbilical cord, that is a placental villi. This is called this region is called the placenta, and these are the villi, blood cells, wherein all the food materials, ions, everything is passed to this villi, enters through the passage of this placenta, finally passes into the placenta, and through this placenta, that is here, this placenta is attached with this villi, microvilli. So all the food, whatever is passing from the mother here, it enters to like a small pipe-like structure, that is capillary veins, finally enters the placenta. From the placenta, it passes through the umbilical cord and enters the baby's stomach. That is how the baby receives the food. Not only food, even exchange of gases takes place through this placenta. So now, the baby starts its journey. I'll go to the next slide and then explain you. Meantime, you can see lots of enzymes are released out. That is, hormones are released out here during this course. So here, you can see the stages here. A 2 zygote, 2 cell, 4 cell, 8 cell, then blastocyst, they get implanted, and finally, here a germ layer development starts. What is this germ layer? That is, From the course of 1 month till the 9th month of its journey, first it results in the formation of the heart, then the epidermal cells of body tissues. Like this, layer by layer, a full complicated structure of germ layers are formed. Come on to the next stage. Yes, here, this is the picture of how the umbilical cord, that is how these veins and arteries are linked via this chronic villi. And nowadays, what is use of this amniotic fluid? The baby receives its protection through this amniotic fluid. That is, normally at the month of 1 month, then sometimes second month or in the third month, they draw this amniotic fluid and they do the test whether the baby's condition is normal or not. Okay, so here, see this, through this artery, oxygen, nutrients, and hormones are delivered to the baby via this chorionic villi, finally passing through this umbilical vein or the umbilical artery to the baby's stomach. And meantime, this blue color you can see, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀಲಿ ಕಲರ್ ಕಾಣಿಸೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಆಚೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಕಾಣಿಸೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Next slide. So here, a hormone called relaxin is released during the pregnancy. That is only during the relaxin is released. See, the name itself is relaxin. So only when the baby is, that is when the embryo is formed, only at that time the relaxin is released here for assisting the functioning of placenta. So what is the function of this relaxin? It helps in assisting the function of placenta. And some more hormones known as human chorionic gonadotropin or HCG and HPL, that is human placental lactogen, helps. So three hormones are here: gonadotropin, that is human chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen, and relaxin. All these different hormones helps in supporting the activity or the physiological activity of this baby via this umbilical cord through this placental zone. Okay, now coming to this gestation period. What is meant by gestation period? That is maturation, that is development of a baby during this 9-month course or changes in an embryo. From an embryo into a baby is known as, or a fetus. The baby, when we call a baby, when the baby comes out from the mother's womb, we call it as a baby. When it is inside the womb in the uterus, we call it as fetus. So from the changes or the development from an embryo into the fetus, that period we call it as gestation period. Again, this is very, very important in the examination point of view. See here, this is a small around 2 weeks to 3 weeks fetus, that is the embryo when it is in embryo state. Look at here, the villi through this placenta. What happens? All of this, we normally call it as placental villi. Since the placenta are attached, we call it as placental villi. So they are interconnected and the fetus is inside this cavity of the uterus. So this is the cord, we call it as umbilical cord, which is useful for stem cell culture. Okay, now coming back here one by one. At the stage of 4 weeks, month 1, the embryo, it slowly starts formation of an heart and the brain. First heart is formed, then the brain. After the second month, completion of second month, it leads to the formation of limbs and digits. Digits means it may be finger, hands, legs, all this we call it as digits, and as well as inner organ digits. That is different form of organs. Slowly it initiates. You should recall back your cell division. Then slowly limbs are enlarged, it get organized, and meantime external genital organs are also formed. That's what normally like nowadays it is banned whether to find a baby's male or a boy. Previously, very long back, they used to do this test at the month of 3 to find out whether a male baby or a female baby. Now it is totally banned. Okay, So here at the month of 3, limbs and external genital organs are formed. At the month of 4, the head is formed and hairs are formed on the head as well as on the body. Slowly on the body also the hairs are formed by the it reaches the 6 months. Look at the stages here, and even you can see the folding the legs of the baby. Since it is very compact, see it can understand. The baby can sense that is the fetus can sense because brain is already developed at the month of 4. So it can sense, it finds its way there. Food is continuously supplying there. So it can have a feeling, it can hear its mother. That's why, see, many of the elders we tell that during the pregnancy you should hear only good things, talk good things, listen good things, eat good things, because the baby inside, it is ready to come as a life. So when life is there, obviously it can do all the physiological activities. Okay, now it finds a small compact there. So it want to adjust within that cavity. So it starts its folding its leg. Look at the diagram of 7. At the month of 7, it encalves itself and slowly it starts turning upside down. See here, the cavity, the folding of the leg, its sufficient place is not there. So what happened? It turns at the 8th month, and from the month of 7 to 8, a mother, a pregnancy woman can have a feeling of push up from its leg because it pushes up its leg and turns itself in that cavity, makes itself a comfortable, compact cavity. Finally, when it reaches that the month of 8 and 9, it turns and it is ready to come out from the cervix through the vagina. See here, sometimes you might have heard about the abortions. Artificial abortion, that is, artificial means not artificial, like intentionally they'll get aborted. Normally, that has to be done within the month of 3. That is again a crime. But if the baby is not well developed or any medical issues, doctor will abort it. They will abort it through this. I will show this. Look at the basic structure here. They will insert an artificial clip or a forceps and they will scrap here. Actually, scrap is used here to scrap means actually they kill the fetus here. So scrap is made here. They pull the scrap, it will be like a muscle tissue. With the blood, it comes out to the vagina. If medical issues. Sometimes accidental abortions takes place. That is maybe due of their food habits. They normally this happens in westernized countries. So the implantation will not be proper due to the larger increase have read here. Maybe this placental capacity, it cannot withstand the weight of the baby. So up uh, like naturally comes out with the bleeding. So that is natural uh, abortion. Okay, now coming back. Finally, like estrogen, this estrogen, oxytocin. The oxytocin is the hormone which helps in relaxing this muscle tissues of this cervix as well as this vagina. It pushes the baby, passes through the small passage and comes out. That is by natural birth. Suppose if it is cesarean, they have to cut this 7-layered tissue, that is placental tissue. See where how complicated it is. And if chance, due to the negligence or careless of doctors, if something goes wrong, there are chances of cancer during the later stage. Normally, that is, people having cesarean, it is not must and should, it all depends on the human immunity. There are chances of cancer if care is not taken to cover this placental region after the cesarean, right? Much after the cesarean. Okay, now what is this? Partition, that is laboring, when the baby gets parted out from the womb, that is called partition. So here as such, oxytocin is released from the pituitary. Keep it in mind, all the hormones are the endocrine hormones which are released from the pituitary glands. So here the thing is that any normal man, whether a male or a female, brain is the main cause for all the hormonal effective and our body physiological activity. Okay, now what is the term of this lactation and colostrum? I'll come one by one. So this is called partition and lactation. Partition means when the baby comes out by the injection, by the secretion of this oxytocin. So that is by natural birth. Sometimes it so happens, if it is not a normal birth, they will wait. They will not do the cesarean. They will inject with oxytocin, that is the hormones for relaxation of the baby, as well as the vaginal, that is cervix cavity. This is the passage. So if it is given, many of the times it is successful. So the baby pushes out and comes out naturally through the normal outlet, that is the along with the placenta. See, it is coming out along with the umbilical cord. So during the partition, oxytocin hormones is released. Then, meantime, along with the placenta now becomes a waste mass. It's of no use now. So all this placental, inside this placental cell, that is the cavity which is filled with placental fluid, the baby was getting all the nourishment. Now, this baby, when it is coming out, the placenta will have a passage like this. It is engulfed with a sac-like structure. So when the baby is coming out, along with the placenta, blood clots, everything comes out with an umbilical cord. So umbilical cord, it is cut off. So it is separated from the mother's womb. So now the baby is independent. Here again. So while cutting this, in olden days, nowadays most of them go to the hospital for delivery, but in olden days, natural delivery they used to opt, as such city was away. So many deaths were happening during the delivery, that is during the partition. That is, if they don't cut it properly, they use the unsterilized iron sickles or blades. So what happened? Infection would have happened and the mother would have died maybe after the delivery or maybe at the time of delivery. In most of the old movies, if you see the black and white movies or some of the old movies of 80s, you can see the baby like it is a not a blessed baby. Many of the movies, Hindi movies or many of the movies you can see after the birth, the mummy, that is the mother will die. That is maybe this is one of the main cause. Okay, coming back to the lactation. So during this pregnancy itself, as the baby is forming, even the lactation also takes place. That is once again controlled by the hormone. Here I have enlarged here. The higher brain cerebrum, it secretes, it tells the hypothalamus to secrete the different hormones, that is prolactin and the oxytocin. So prolactin helps in the formation of it starts inside the mother womb. There are lactiferous duct, that is these tissues, the mammary glands. So here, when the oxytocin is uh, signaled here, the lactation through the blood cells, the milk is deposited here. Slow by slow, it gets deposited, filled up in this mammary glands. And after the birth, when the baby is fed, due to the sucking action, the milk is released to the duct. Here, the first formed milk will be, that is, that normally this colostrum, you might have heard, ginnu anta karitaralva hasudu, manushralu hagene colostrum antane kariyadu. That is the first formed milk, we call it as yellowish. It will be yellowish in color. And the later one will be as usual like a white milk. So these are rich in protein and other immunity containing mineral salts, antibiotics and proteins, which acts like an immunity booster for the infants. That's why most of the doctors and elders, they prefer the infants to have the natural breast milk because they're rich in antibiotics as well as the proteins. Okay. So overall view, just a 5 minutes, I'll take overall view and then come to the interaction section along with your CT, NEET or JEE. Here, the main intention of this search hunt program of KSTC organized is for you to get prepared for the final year, second PUC, as well as for NEET, CT and JEE exams. So coming from the beginning, so the Science Talent Search Program mainly concentrates, targets on the PU children, especially on second PUC, who are ready for their examination, getting ready to become doctors. Mainly biology is meant only for the doctors, pharmaceuticals, as well as nurses. And as such, other courses also diploma courses, which is related to biology or medicine. So here, this is one of the basic unit, and I'm very lucky to have this unit because most of the things depends on this human reproduction. That is, human reproduction helps in formation of bears in the formation of the offsprings. And here, any miscarriage or any misconcepts, see, due to the negligence, either it may be during the pregnancy or during the partition or any of the midway, whether it is a male or a female, anything may happen, or due to the chromosomal defects also during mitosis and meiosis, during the spermatogenesis or oogenesis. If there is a defect in the chromosomal number or chromosomal structure, we call it as chromosomal aberration. In genetics part, you might have learned. See how much it accounts. Even the genes plays a key role here. If there is chromosomal aberration, then there are so many factors like syndromes may occur if chromosomes becomes extra or lesser, Klinefelter syndrome or Down syndrome, and so on. Okay, now having a glimpse of this division. So this is the two different male reproductive organ. Each one of them are very, very important. Accessory duct, rete testis, so as well as this accessory glands. Then here I'll just show you this bulbourethral gland. This helps in the, it assists in the secretion of the glands during the formation of sperms. Okay, this full structure, ampullae, infundibulum, fimbriae, isthmus, this all together we call this as fallopian tubule. So this tube-like structure is called fallopian tubule, but fimbriae. From here it starts the fallopian tubule. Okay, now uterine wall. This is very, very important. That is endometrium. That is due to the secretion of oxytocin. So this helps in thickening and thinning and getting back to the normal position. Okay, stop. So this part, the downward part, this is very, very important for the examination point of view. They may ask you for 2-mark question. Comment on the parts of male reproductive system or write the different male reproductive system. Or in CET, they may ask giving the structure. Later on, I will discuss about it. So this is about the different parts of male reproductive organ. Then in detail, this is the explanation I've already given. So your Sertoli and Leydig cells are very, very important for the secretion of male reproductive hormones. Okay, next, this is about the female in detail, female reproductive structure and the formation of Graafier follicle as well as corpus luteum. Okay, this again is very, very important in the female reproductive system, mammary glands. This is important only when there is lactification, only if there is fertilization. If a woman becomes pregnant, then it is useful. Otherwise, it is just a muscle tissues. Okay, this is how the gametes and ovum are formed. The process of in mitosis and meiotic action. Okay, this is schematic representation. Repeatedly, I'm telling you, this is very, very important. Every year, one diagram is asked, either in a form of diagram or in a form of expression. So this unit is very, very important for 2-mark, 3-mark, 5-mark, as well as 1-mark. Yeah, terms you please recall. Spermiation means process by which sperms are released from the seminiferous tubules. Spermiogenesis means sperms form, formation of sperms. Genesis means formation. So sperm formation of sperm. Okay, then next one, structure of sperm, again very, very important. So here as such, the head contains a haploid nucleus and it contains around 200 to 300. That is the during the what is spermatogenesis, structure that is the head. Sorry, during the formation of spermatogenesis, around 200 to 300 million sperms are formed and are ejaculated. There are millions of sperms formed during the end till the end of the age of a male, but only 200 to 300 are released during the course of intercourse. Okay, now I'll move on to directly to the MCQ questions. Before going to MCQ questions, dear students, please concentrate on few of these questions which is released. These are the important questions, very, very essential, where I collected from Sulalita. That is a government book which is meant only for biology students. I will send that link. You can just share that and you can take a printout and learn from that. Most of the questions which are present in Sulalita are very, very important in the examination point of view. If you are thorough with theory, I think you can clear NEET or JET or JE or the CET also. So these are all 1 mark questions, and this M14 means March 14. J14 means in the month of June they have asked. And this is the page number of government textbooks wherein these questions are present. This is only a sample of Sulalita textbook. This is a 1 mark question. Anyhow, these slides are shared. You can go through this. Any doubts, anytime, I'll drop in you my mail ID as well as phone number. You can contact. Okay, now these are 2 mark questions. This is again a sample how you have to answer it. See, 1 mark also I've given you the answer. And then 2 marks also answers are available here. This is how you have to answer. You should not write a story. You should go only up to the you should first eyes. First assert, understand the question. Understand the question. Take a break for 30 seconds, then start answering your answers. This is only possible if you have a habit of doing a notes on your own and taking a frequent test in your attending your internals, whether it may be a midterm or whatever it is in your college, whatever they conduct. Please attend that. Whether you get good or bad marks, that's a different story. But attend and take up the test. Make an attempt to learn it. Then in the second test, surely you will be good. Okay. So these are 3 to 5 mark questions. Here I cannot interpret which will be asked for 3 to 5 marks. You have to understand the question and then answer it. Draw a neat label diagram of human sperm. I'll get back here. Yeah. So here, draw it and label it. That's it. Don't write stories. They have asked you to draw it. Draw means it's understood you have to label it. Just draw it and label it. So you'll get, this will be normally asked only draw and label means 3 marks. If they ask draw and label the diagram, draw, label and explain each of it. And all the explanations are given here. Okay, be very clear in the diagram and labeling. And don't waste much time to draw it. To draw the diagram, take only 2 minutes and for labeling 1 minute. So around 5 minutes, you should wind up, not even 5 minutes. Three mark question is 3 minutes. 5 mark question is 5 minutes. That's it. You should plan and design previously. That means a pre-preparation 2 months before. It's very, very essential. This is the right time for you to get prepared for the exam. So exam, you should smoothly go and answer it. Next is what is spermatogenesis? Explain the process of spermatogenesis. That means you have to draw that is, I had given you the diagrammatic representation, that is schematic representation. I can just view it here. Yeah. This schematic representation you have to do and explain it. See, all the explanation is given here, but addition to this, you have to concentrate on the hormones. That is very, very essential. Okay, I'll move on a little bit further. So as with other things also, most of the questions coming here, minimum of 2 diagrams will be asked and 1 mark question will be asked. Very simple, like you have to read each and every line of it, understand it. Okay, now coming to the CET or your MCC questions or your NEET exam or so such, I've given you some examples over here. I've quoted a few examples here. As such here, capacitation occurs in epididymis, vas efferens, female reproductive tract, rete testis. The answer is rete testis. So when you go through the explanation, in the explanation you should reason it, analyze it, so that when you read the question, it is very easy to answer. Directly you'll get the answer. But without studying, simply if you go through the MCQ questions directly, I think you cannot answer properly. Scoring will be not good because negative corrections will be there. So there you will be under loss. So understand it, digest it. Study every unit with every sessions properly, chalking out the points. Now, parallelly, keep the MCQ questions with respect to that unit. So now, pick out that, analyze it, reason it, you'll be clear. So while answering, not much time you'll take, or neither you'll be confused with the parallel answers or competitive answers. Same way, see here, one more twisting question. The following statements are true except. Understand the question. The following statements are true. Yeah, maybe under this following, all the statements are true. One is exceptional. In an individual, reproductive changes occurs after puberty. Spore formation occurs even in old men. Formation of ovum continues in women after 50 years. Humans are sexually producing and viviparous. The first one, it is accepted. Yeah, it is true. Sperm formation occurs even in old men. Yes, it is true. That's what you have to reason it. I've already explained that. Formation of ovum continues in women after 50 years. No, answer is wrong. So that is your answer. The wrong answer. Except, understand, the following statements are true. Not all are true. Only 3 are true. 1 is wrong. So accept that wrong answer is your correct answer. Menopause, whatever you call menopause, she cannot, the women cannot continue with the ovum formation after 50 years. Okay, now the scrotum helps in maintaining a temperature dash lower than the internal body temperature. 1 to 1.5, 2 to 2.5, 3 to. The second one is the correct answer. This you have to study in the textbooks. So please keep the textbook behind it. Notes alone will not help you out. Government textbook is very precise and prescriptive, meant for the PU students, and please go through it. It will be very sufficient. Each and every line, if you read, that itself is your CET questions. But you have to reason, think. For example, as I told you, the following statements are true, except. Okay, now another 1 more minute. So they'll give a diagram like this. And here the question is, what does M represent? That is ear. Maybe this may be labeled as M, or this may be this bulbous bulbourethral gland may be labeled as M. Anything may be labeled as M. Look at the diagram, then compare your answers, whether A is ureter, whatever it is. Then compare A, B, C, D. Then this 11th. Then 12th question. This will be asked in a club. They'll give one diagram. They'll give different alphabetical or number. It varies. It varies. We cannot interpret which will come. So then based on that, whichever answer is correct in this, you have to tick that 11th is correct or 12th is correct. Like that, you have to go on doing it. Okay. Next question. Coming to this, match the following. Yeah, along with that, you have to match the following. That is, see, you may have a fill up the blanks, you may have a choice answer, or match the following correctly, anything. See here, they have matched here. Don't look at this answer. Never look at the answers. Look whether you have understood the concept, reason it. So assertion and reasoning the question is very, very important. Assertion means assert, understand the question. Gestation. What is meant by gestation period? What is meant by partition period? What is meant by gametogenesis? Implantation. Okay, gestation, you don't know, you forgot it. Gametogenesis, I think you'll be knowing. Formation of gametes. So look at the answer here. Formation of gametes. So B is correct. Now check here. 3 is B. Yeah, 3 is B. Where again 3 is B? 3 is B here. So you'll be confused. 1 minute. Formation, yeah. Yeah, here C is B. Right? Your one. Here also C is B. You'll be confused now. A is correct or C is correct. So go for next one. Implantation. Implantation means attachment to the uterine wall. Which is attached here? Blastocyst. You know the answer. Blastocyst is attached to the uterine wall. But implantation means attachment to the uterine wall. So C is correct. B, you know the answer. C, you know the answer. Now check for B is, that is formation of gametes. Gametogenesis. C is B. Okay, now implantation. That is attachment of uterus. So C. So B is 1 minute. C is, sorry, third one is B. Then fourth one, implantation is C. So you got the 2 answers. Check out with others. B, D, A, C. So remaining 2. Obviously it will be correct, but cross check it. So A is C. Gestation means E. Embryonic development. Yes. Partition means separation of the baby. So what is the 2? 1 minute. This 2. So partition D. Delivery of the baby. So here the C answer is correct. Got it now? That is how you have to reason it. So assert, understand the question. This is possible. Again, I'm telling you, each and every line you should go through the textbook prescribed by the government. Okay. Now read and then reason. Now here some examples I have given, and these are the things how you have to do it. If the assertion is true, but the reason will be false. If both the assertion and reasons are false, like that you should check out. You should not be confused. In the previous one I showed you. Assertion, spermatogonia or haploid cells. How you can tell it is haploid cells? Because it is multiplied by binary fusion. Right? Only 2 cells will be released out. All will be N. So haploid. So humans are viviparous. I've already explained this complex. That is, they give birth. So humans are viviparous because sexually reproducing organism and they give birth. Now, doctors used to inject oxytocin to induce delivery. I've already told you this for the contraction of the muscular tissues. That is, the uterine, they are covered with muscle tissue, which helps in the pushing of the baby. So once the oxytocin is released, it sends a message to the placenta. That is to the baby's brain through the placenta because it is still attached to the baby's mother's placental cell along with umbilical cord. So signal is passed there. The baby pushes here, pushes its head, and finally it is released out. So partition takes place. So now I think I've done not fully, but to the partial justice I've done to my concepts I feel. If any questions or interactions, it is an open welcome. You can ask the questions. But I've briefed up only in 50 minutes. This is a huge subject, chapter to cover up. Yeah, please, any interaction session? ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳಿ. ಇದು ತುಂಬಾ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ 3 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಪಿ ಸಿ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ತುಂಬಾ ಟೈಮ್ ಬೇಕು, 50 ಮಿನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಸಫಿಶಿಯಂಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮೇಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಯು ಅಂಡ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಯು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ CET, NEET ಅಂಡ್ JEE. ಇದು ಸ್ಯಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ ಕಾಪಿನ ನಾನು ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಸುಲಲಿತಾ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ವೆರಿ ನೈಸ್ ಬುಕ್. ಓಕೆ,
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್.
So dear students, please ask the questions or any doubts on today's topic. ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ
ಕೇಳಿ. ಓದಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಿಮಗೆ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಓದಿ. ಇವತ್ತಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೂ ರಿಯಲಿ ವೆಲ್ ಇನ್ ಬಯಾಲಜಿ. ಇಫ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಸೀಟ್, ಫ್ರೀ ಸೀಟ್ ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು. ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು, ಅದ್ರದ್ದೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಬಯಾಲಜಿಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸು, ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಲೇಬಲಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಅದ್ರ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲೇನೆ ಯಾವ ಹಾರ್ಮೋನ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ. ಈ PPT ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್. ನನಗೆ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಕವರ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ, ಬಟ್ ಸಫಿಶಿಯಂಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ 50 ಮಿನಿಟ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ನೋಡಿ, there are different pictures here. If you can see here how the baby is formed and how the shape takes place of a mummy's womb. ಕುಂಬಳಕಾಯಿ ತರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ 9th month ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಒಂದು ಎಲೆ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಗೋಸ್. ಯಾ,
ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರ
ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಕೇಳಿ ಸರ್, ಖಂಡಿತ ಕೇಳಿ. ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ವಾಟ್ಸ್ಆಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
ಹೌದು ಸರ್, ಹೌದು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಅದೇ ಈಗ ಅವರೇ
ಖಂಡಿತ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಲೇಟರ್ ಆನ್ ಐ ಸೆಂಡ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಮೇಲ್ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ನೀಟ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ, ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಬಟ್ ಓದ್ದಲೇನೆ, ಥಿಯರಿ ಓದ್ದಲೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನೀಟ್ ಇದು MCQ ಓದ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದೇ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಓದಿ, ಒಂದು ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಸೆಷನ್ ಓದಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಬ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತಾವಲ್ವಾ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರೋದು ಯಾವುದು? ಮೇಲ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್. ಆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ದೇ ತರೋ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕಂಪೇರೇಟಿವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಫೀಮೇಲ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ನೇ ಆ ತರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಕಂಪೇರೇಟಿವ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು oogenesis, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟೋಜೆನೆಸಿಸ್, ಅದನ್ನ ಓದಿ. ಅದು ಫುಲ್ ತರೋ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಎಲ್ಲದ್ರಲ್ಲೂ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ MCQ ನ ಚಾಕ್ ಡೌನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರಿಬೇಕು ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ಎಷ್ಟು ನೀವು ಬರೀತೀರಾ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೇದು, ಯಾವುದೇ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲಿ. ದ ಮೋರ್ ಯು ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್, ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್.
ಓಕೆ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್.
ಯಾವುದೇ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಮುತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಲೇಟರ್ ಐ ಸೆಂಡ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಮೇಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
Sure sir, thank you very much sir. And I thank you for giving me an opportunity. Yeah,
it's an immense pleasure to thank you Jayashree ma'am.
Yes sir, sure sir.
And today delivered excellent talk on human reproduction. So this talk will give many information to the students. So ನಾವು ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ಈ ಒಂದು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದ ಕೆಲವು ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ KST ಪರವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ರಮೇಶ್ ಸರ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸಿದ್ದೇಶ್ ಸರ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಆಲ್ ದ ಟೀಮ್ ಆಫ್ KST. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
ಸೊ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಯ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಅಯ್ಯಪ್ಪನ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್.
ಅಯ್ಯಪ್ಪನ್ ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಅಯ್ಯಪ್ಪನ್ ಸರ್.
ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಪ್ರತಿಭಾಶಾಧನೆ ಯೋಜನೆಯನ್ನ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ನಮಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿನಿತ್ಯವೂ ಸಲಹೆ ಸೂಚನೆಗಳನ್ನ ನೀಡುತ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿರುವ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಯ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಣಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಮೇಶ್ ಸರ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಜರಾಗಿದ್ದ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರುಗಳು, ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ವೆಬೆಕ್ಸ್ ವೃಂದದವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಒನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಐ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
Thank you very much, sir.
Please send all the soft copy of this topic, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Okay, sir. I'll send, sir. I'll send.
Okay, please, ma'am.
Okay.